Footy. For the new look Mazda VT50, we're set for the second preliminary final. Big Josh Kennedy is in the building, Maxi Gorner's ready to go, and so too are three of the biggest names in the history of AFL football to talk through West Coast and Melbourne, the sudden death preliminary final. The winner will be on the MCG next Saturday, to take on Collingwood in the Premiership of 2018. Paul Roos, Gary Lyon, Dermot Brereton, welcome boys. Here we go again, it's preliminary final.
And welcome to you, Ed, President of the Collingwood Footy Club. You know that?
Well, as she said, can we spend the first half hour on last night? We said, we're going to look forward.
I thought we were doing a replay.
Just today, boys, last night we saw a red-hot Collingwood play against a out-of-form Richmond. I want to see two teams playing really good footy today. That was the only disappointing thing. I know, Ed, you weren't disappointed at all, but I'd love to see both teams play really, really well today.
What it shows to them is you've got to turn up, and as strange as it seems, Richmond didn't turn up in the manner, and they weren't allowed to. Collingwood, to a man, played the sort of footy that you need to on preliminary final day, and Jack Riewoldt was stark in as much that he was the only one that sort of had that intensity early. Both these teams need to bring it.
For me, it actually showed how much the stars mean to your team. Now, Richmond, we know, got 5 stars. 2 of them were taken down last night, and 1 was kept out of the action in terms of Rance, was played really smart. Attack the opposition's strengths and you'll win the game. And you've got to attack them and win, I might add.
Yeah. So that was last night. Just quickly today, Doom. So who are those key players? Who has to play a preliminary final special today to win for Melbourne and for West Coast?
Well, I think West Coast could go into several different play style modes. They've got the way they prefer to play. They don't get high intensity around the footy. They don't lay a lot of tackles. They sit back, but they intercept mark and they springboard out of there really, really well. But their 2 most important players, and I think it's a huge job for the Melbourne backmen to hold down their 2 key forwards. They could turn up next week if they get through with a lot of fear at Collingwood. But here's the story so far.
Most were worried about Josh Kennedy, they would be, and if Kennedy gets off the leash, then that Collingwood team will have West Coast underneath it. If Frost and his group can maintain some control, Roosie, then they took 8 marks inside 50 last time they played over there, only Collingwood. Melbourne took 19.
And I reckon to Derm's point, and this is not the deciding factor, but Collingwood went after Martin with Greenwood.
Yeah.
No one went after Sidebottom. I reckon you'll see today, Ed, whether it's Elliot Yeo, Harms, or whether it's Shuey, Harms, and Hutchinson's been really good as well. So I think both teams will try and take out an opposition good player.
All right, let's go out. There is an amazing atmosphere at Optus Stadium. The West Coast Eagles are one of the biggest teams in the competition. They roar loud over there. The acoustics are unbelievable. And the Melbourne Football Club, out of finals for 12 years, have been sensational here on home soil. And a loyal band have travelled over to the other side of the country for this game. Let's go to David King and Matthew Pavlich, who are right in the action as it builds up over there in Perth. Boys, welcome to Fox Footy this afternoon for the preliminary final. Tell us about the weather, tell us about everything that's going on there, boys.
Well, it's hot, isn't it, Pav? It's been a very hot couple of days in Perth. It hasn't been that case for a couple of weeks, just the last couple of days.
Almost a couple of months, King. It's been a pretty cold and mild winter over here, a wet winter, but today you can see the pictures. It's a beautiful day, currently about 24 degrees. Come the game time, it's going to be 25 and basically that much throughout the game. So you think that may actually have a little bit of impact on the Melbourne players. Obviously coming from over east, Melbourne's always a bit chilly, but beautiful game for footy.
There's one Melbourne supporter to every 100 Eagle supporters over here. It's unbelievable. The atmosphere's building. The town's been consumed the last couple of days. Can't wait for that first bounce.
Good evening, boys. Great to have David King and Richie Benno ready to go today. You're looking spiffy there, mate. You're looking magnificent, mate.
It's cricket weather. It's cricket weather. It's fun to see you out my outswingers. Roll the arm over. We're going to get report soon.
And we'll get there with the keys there. Hey guys, so we'll come back to you shortly, okay? You're looking fantastic over there. And it's a different atmosphere, isn't it? It's the warm conditions. That was always the knock about playing on the Saturday afternoon in Perth, which was the reason I had a bit of a go a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't necessarily a 6-day break or anything. It was the fact that a night game in Perth and a day game in Melbourne seemed to be a bit more, makes sense, doesn't matter. It is what it is, and away we go. But that's going to be an interesting factor in this game. I think a few years ago, and we'll go back to Kingy, when North Melbourne played over there, it was hot. It was about 30 degrees, but they got done by 15 goals because they just could not go with West Coast in the heat and the pace of the action. All right, Nerily Meadows. Let's go to Nerily in the newsroom right now. Nerily, good afternoon to you. What's the news? Any late changes?
No late changes, Eddie. So just the one forced change for the West Coast Eagles. Brad Shepherd is out with that hamstring injury he suffered in the win in the qualifying final over Collingwood. In comes Will Schofield, just his 11th game of the season. For Melbourne, one change, and it is for team balance, Simon Goodwin is saying. Bailey Frisch is the man who makes way. He played 23 games this year, but he's the unlucky man to be dropped. In comes Joel Smith, just his 8th game for 2018. His last game was the round 20 win over Gold Coast. Of course, the winner of today's game will face your Pies. Good news this morning, Jeremy Howe went in for precautionary scans on his ankle, but has been given the all clear. He tweaked it last night, managed to come back on the ground, but he'll be icing it no doubt all throughout the week to make sure he's right to go for the grand final. Jordan Goey spent some time in the rooms again last night, but he didn't have any scans for today. So should be both right for the grand final.
Yes, no worries, Nelly. I was down there this morning and all feeling pretty good about life at the moment, the boys. So a few knocks and bruises, but ready to go, dude.